Hi everyone. Welcome to Sheffield DocFest, this online session of the festival called Seeds for a Common Future. So this session, it's part of the DocFest Exchange, which is a section of the festival dedicated to questions, making a space for questions and discussions around climate change and the health of the planet, including both human and non-human inhabitants. So this year we're doing this through the idea, or we're concentrating on the idea of perspective. So can we appreciate someone else's perspective? Again, bringing in questions of whether this is a human perspective or a non-human perspective. So if you're based in the UK, you can access all the films that we have in the programme online. And if you're not based in the UK, you can still access the talks and workshops. So we have 2 more talks happening today, which I will share later at the end of the session. So this session was inspired by Marwa Asanios's film, Who is Afraid of Ideology, which we have part 3 of this film series in the programme you can watch online. And that looks at indigenous seed savers in Colombia, who are trying to preserve native seeds as well as preserve access to fertile land in the face of politicians and transnational corporations who are using chemical agriculture, violence, even murder to stop them having access to common land. So today, this session, we have 3 very special guests who I will invite to switch on their cameras, who are going to tell us a bit about their projects. So first I would like to introduce Esther Lupafia, who's here with Anita Chitaya. And Esther and Anita are part of the project Soil, Food and Healthy Communities, which works with farmers, is led by farmers and works with farmers in northern Malawi to move towards food sovereignty and better nutrition. So Esther will tell us a lot more about the project, and Esther and Anita are also in the film The Ants and the Grasshopper, which is available as part of the DocFest Exchange programme. Again, I will put a link in the chat. We also have Nesreen Kadir and Tekushin from Jinwar Free Women's Village in Syria, which is a communal village for women, which is also trying to work towards sustainability and considers itself a feminist and ecological project. Again, we will hear much more about it. And also joined by Mary Clear from Incredible Edible Todmorden, or the Incredible Edible Project, which started in Todmorden near here in the north of England, and has inspired projects all around the world. So they grow food on unused land in the town and try to build community through food growing. So at any point, if you have questions, please put in the chat. We will hear from each project for about 10 minutes, and then we will start having a more open conversation. But please feel free to put comments, questions, etc. at any time. So maybe I start by handing over to Esther and Anita. And welcome. So Esther, you're still on mute, sorry.
My name is Esther Lupafia. I am the one who is presenting today. Anita is in the film, but she's not taking part in this discussion today. She's just available as a sitting with me. I'm going to present about the SFHC. SFHC stands for Soils, Food and Healthy Organization. Soils, Food and Healthy Communities Organization. This organization, I can say a bit how this organization was born. It is in the northern part of Malawi, in Mzimba district, particularly in Ekwendeni. This project was born because in the 1980s, 1997, 1998, there was a high rate of children malnutrition. with nutritional anemia. And that was at Egwendeni Mission Hospital, where I was working as maternal child health coordinator. And because of the high levels of malnutrition and nutritional anemia, many children were admitted to nutrition rehabilitation center, over 100 children in a day because of kwashiorkor and marasmus. It was very difficult to find a solution of this problem until 1998. There was a student who came from Guaf, Rachel Bisneker, as a master student, and this master student started working with me in the community when we were going to the clinic, and she started doing in-depth interviews to find the cause of malnutrition. She didn't come for that, but she came because she wanted to introduce liquid manure with the widows, vulnerable widows in the community. While she was doing that, she also did in-depth interviews to find the cause of malnutrition. And there were so many causes which were identified, was like food insecurity, poor soil, and gender inequality. And at the same time, there was a lot of domestic violence in the communities. And then what happened was she did the liquid manure. The women grew very nice vegetables. They started eating them at the same time because there was surplus, they started selling them. Because of that, the community was very much interested. Now, because of the malnutrition, they asked if at all many people in the community could have joined the project. She left and came back. When she came back, it's when Soiro's Food and Health Communities was born. That was in 2000. Now, it was born by looking at the same problems of food insecurity, because of food insecurity, soil infertility, poor nutrition, and then there was again gender inequality, a lot of domestic violence. Now, when the project started in 2000, it started in one village, one area in Yongole, where there was a lot of malnutrition. That area really had a lot of malnutrition. So it started in 7 villages with 30 farmers. These farmers were trained and they were called farmer research team members, the 30. They got all the necessary training in agroecology, agroecological practices, and at the same time, gender dynamic and so many other trainings which they got. After the first time of their training, they started growing different types of legumes. These legumes were intercropped. That was double legumes. So they were intercropping. Each one was doing their own experiment, which they desired to do. So some of them were intercropping pigeon pea and beans, pigeon pea groundnuts, pigeon pea soya beans, and pigeon pea with the cowpeas. The others were doing legumes and cereals. So it was maize, beans, maize, pigeon pea, maize, groundnuts, and the like. All this was to improve soil, food security, and again, child malnutrition. And at the same time, there were a lot of in-depth interviews which were being done to still find out more what is happening with gender inequalities so that they could see how the decisions are made in the community. Now, this project continued. The first year, it was funded by IDRC, which was Canada. And then from there, we also had another funding, which was McKnight Foundation, which funded the climate change. While we're trying to do the improving soil and the like, there was the climate change which came in. And then it was the farmers now were doing the same. Climate change, variability, agroecological practices, and all that. So the crops which people were trying to crop, they were crops which were drought resistant, also making a lot of compost, because compost was helping to keep the soils moist. If there was a drought, the crops were still nice and moist, so the maize were still growing, as maize is our main staple food. From there, the project continued. When the project continued, a lot of villages came in. So from 30 first farmers, we increased up to 270 farmers. And that was now in so many villages. And then the Equality members also increased to 170. Then from there, after this, it's when now we were having the MAFA project. The MAFA project was the Malawi farmer to farmer of agroecology. In this terminology stands for farmers training fellow farmers. And these farmers were training fellow farmers not only in Ekwendeni, but then the project also went to Dedza. That's the central region of Malawi. So the agroecological practices continued in two, increasing networks, and farmers were working with the University of Malawi and Ekwendeni because it is research. And the main concept that we have in SFHC is participatory concept. So it is a farmer-led organization with the participatory approach and having farmer to farmer, where farmers train their fellow farmers. And because of this project and a lot of trainings which were taking place, we were also doing nutrition discussion groups. In nutrition discussion groups, a lot of information was coming out from the community, where men, different age alone, women, different ages alone, and the youth also. From these, we're getting a lot of information. And that information helped SFHC to say, okay, now how do we go about to help the community? It's when now the community was assisted in form of saying they should be gender mainstreaming, and the people who should be working with, it should be vulnerable households, also HIV infected households, and all the other people who were vulnerable farmers. The project continued from 30 villages, it's 7 villages where we started, and 30 farmers. We are now working with over 15,000 farmers, both in the district and in Mzimba, that's the north and the central region. While we're working in a Ekwendeni hospital from 2018, in a Ekwendeni hospital, this project, SFHC, now became standalone. It was now registered as an organization on its own. So it is a farmer-led, non-profit making organization, which has got its own institution. Now we have, where I'm sitting, it's a farmer training center, research training center, where the buildings have been constructed and the people are going to be trained here at the center. We also have the permaculture garden, where people are coming to get different agroecological trainings. And one of the other things that we do, the farmers do a lot of research. And because there's a lot of research which is taking place, there are also a lot of publications which are written by different students. The fact it is a research institution, we therefore have lots of students from the United States of America. We have some students from UK, students from Canada, students from within Malawi to come and learn and study and participate with at the SFHC here. So this institution is really led by farmers, and participatory is the major, and the farmers are well trained. A lot of in-depth interviews are done. A lot of research is done. And at a certain time, SFHC participated in the DABAP region, and the government has adopted to the DABAP region, where SFHC is part of that policy. Now it's a policy where it is accepted. In every research that we do, we have always having a policy brief where you invite government officials and other organizations to give them, and communities, farmers, to give them all the research which has taken place. And at the moment, SFHC has so far done projects like with the first, the research, climate change viability, MAFA, Nina and Kalaso initiative in North Africa, where we have also done a lot of agroecological practices, where we were doing a lot of trials, mother trials and baby trials, where the project has been very successful. We have done with Magnite Foundation in climate change, and also other agroecological practices, Future Earth, and now we are also doing farms for biodiversity, where we are also looking at the harmful insects and the beneficial insects, and at the same time to try and work to see how we can control pests. We have a lot of pests which are destroying crops, like fall armyworms and other pests. So we are working with another project, the same with farms for biodiversity, which is botanicals. So the community is making their own botanicals. Instead of using any chemical to spray for any pest or for armyworm, we use botanicals. At the same time, we also use other methods which are locally made by the community. We have recently also, as the SFHC, because of problems with climate change, started making biofertilizer, which is very beneficial to the community. And we make it here, the community come to learn from us, and it is all over in our community, both in Ekwendeni and also in Nairobi. That's the central region and the northern region. So we are working with over 15,000 farmers, over 900 villages.
Thank you, Esther. Thanks. I wonder if we, as we suggested, maybe we just go around each participant just to hear more about each project before we have a conversation. But as I say, if anyone wants to post any comments, reflections, questions in the chat, please go ahead and we will come around to them later. So Nesreen, would you like to share something about Jinwar? Thanks.
تساليدا بركي بخاشنج بوكو ام دعوات كرن دانستنا من نافي من ناسرين از جوكوباني من دست بكي دا از خادم مش بو جنوار هناكي باخفم هناكي جنوار بدم ناسين شخواد روجاوا كردستان ده سال 2017 جرى كمين كفري جنوار هادانين جرى يكمين لروجافا قندك بنافي جنوار هاد أفكرن أو جيب دستي جنيبو شخاف فكري كوجنوار ورا أفكرن فكرة كي كافنا يعني أم تزانين ديرو كدا جهية جبوي أم لسر أساسين باقافان أم دماشيان سر أساسي ديرو كي أماشيان بريا كوجنوار ورا أفكرن جي فكرين برفره هاتن كرون نقاشن برفره جي هاتن كرن دكارم بيجن ربازي كوجنوار بهات أفكرن بخواجي ربازي كي إيكولوجي بو حتى مال باخي هاتن أفكرن وخزاي هاتن أفكرن.
Nesreen said that first of all we want to thank you for the invitation. We are very happy that we can also take part in the festival. Me myself, my name is Nesreen. I am from Kobane. I live in Jinwar. And Jinwar itself, like it's the first project in the Middle East on the base, like on this base, and it has been like the first stone has been set in the year 2017. But we can also say that, for example, the thought of like building up this kind of village, and also the discussions has been quite long. It has been quite a long history also of these thoughts, also women coming together, what we can also see in the history. And but with building up this village, like the village itself is also based on the thought and also on the principle of ecology, like up to like further. Now I added, but like further we will talk about this. But like for example, building up the houses and the way the houses has been built up.
شخياني جهكي كوجن دوي جهيدا بجهجة هفدو لوي داري هيس شيد بس دواتها بيفيدا دبيجم كوجهكي جن تدا دس بدا هفدو لوي داري جياني كي برومات مروف تدا دجي شخال جنوار ام دخوازن تيكليا زاروك ودايك تيكليا جن واخ تيكليا جن وكات تيكليا جن وايكولوجي ام دخوازن آفا بكن شخال جنوار مجلس هيا حرجن تدا جهد قرا وحرجني كي جنوار جي تبلي كارو خباتي كي قندبه كاري أكاديمية هيا كاري دبستان هيا كاري بخشة هيا كاري چاندنية هيا كدي كرنا حيوانا أفكار جهنا وكاري فرنيجي هيا امتدا جي دقرا ما هم جي هن كاري دستان ام تشيدكن يعني ميناك وارك حرملي ام تشيدكن تشتي خمل ممل يجبو جنان ام تشيدكن.
Yes, Nesreen said that Jinwar itself, it's a place women coming together, and like it's a place where also like common like where like we can get power, like we power from each other, or where we can also create this power together, where we support each other, where we live in solidarity with each other on the base of a respectful life. And now we can, like, what we want to put meaning on is the relation between the children and the mothers, between the women and the earth, between the women and ecology, between women and their work, for example. And the whole life here is organized through a council, and in this council, like, is organized as council, and there are like also different works. For example, in the village, she was saying, like, the works in the garden, the works in the fields, the works in the medical center, the works like handicraft works, the works in the bakery, the works with the animals.
Sorry to interrupt, Nessie. Would you like us to share some images? Because I know you brought some images.
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah.
يعني شخوا جن ديرو كي دقرا هندري خوا وزاين يجي دقرا هندري خوا ام دخوازن لجنوار في زايني واتهتر بكن وفي ديرو كي هين باتاي كي مزن ام بجين شخوا داس دريجي وتونديا كل سر جنيتي كرن او بخوا دعيني دامداش چاندا زلانتي ام دبيلين كودا گركريا لسر ايكولوجي جي سر خوزا جي تكرن او جيش چاندا زلانتي يعني ام هول ددن ام فانتشتان لجنوار ام لكلين دكان ام بهفدران نقاش دكان ام دبيجن قالوا ساده من فانتشتان تشنا شكو داريتين وام هول ددن كل جنوار اوايكي ايكولوجي تر يعني ام جيان بكن جمال ماذا بقرا كوج اخي تشي بنا حطاني جيانا ما حطاني باختيك وام تشي دكن ام هول ددن بريكي ايكولوجي به همجي لجنوار خواك ام دزانن گندك اخكي ايكولوجيا زيده يعني چاندني تيدا پر سركفتيه و تيدا پر بيروزه و تيدا پر زوجي خود دگره و آواد به ام وك دايكين لجنوار وك جنين لجنوار بخوام باختيان دچينن ام ناچن جدرفا ناگرن يعني ام دزانن كل درفا بدرمانان خضراتی چیکرن بکیمیاتی چیکرن ام لجنوار بخوا دچینن خوازای دچینن و خوازای برجواندی خواجه دگرن.
Like in Jinwar, like the life which we are creating here is like a lot of connected also to our common history, and we want also this history want to make it alive again and want to give it a meaning. And like, for example, what we can see and now is that, for example, the violence which has been put on women or which women are suffering from, it's actually coming from the mindset of or from a male mindset. And what we can see is like the male mindset, which is like oppressing the nature, it's also oppressing the woman. So it's like the same root, and on this base we are making here our analysis and also our discussions and research. And for example, what you can see, like now you can see this picture, like for example, the houses which has been created by like this mud bricks, for example. This is also an ecological way how we created these houses. Like, for example, our garden, our agriculture. For example, the women like growing vegetables and also growing like crops here, for example. And also all these things are very successful.
خوان دزانن ها روشا قابتاليزم و كدخوازه هرتم امجا شري تايبت بقرن حتاني شري دنياي مزن هرتم دخوازه ملكي دا ملي ايكولوجي بوچ بكن لأما ام دزانن كي دنافبر حر مروف وخوازه دا عشقه كي مزن هيا قال وصايا ام ببيجن دنافبر جن وخوازه دا عشقه كي تشاوا هيا قالوا يعني اموان بينن برهفدو ام دنرن كود خوازاي د جي زاين هيا ام دبينن كو د جني د جي خواز زاين هيا د فردا گوتنا كي بريز عبد الله او جلان از دخوازن ببيجن بريز عبد الله او جلان د بيجه كي ناسين او باراستنا ايكولوجي جين او بردوام كرين جواكه كي آزاده ايكولوجي نتا نزانستا كو دولته دبستان آنزانین گهان دا دائما لبالی اکولوژی و جینا گردونه یعنی ربر عبدالله اوساد بیجه ام دزانن که جواکا سرطایی دا یا کمبونه دا تکیلیا خوازا وکی تکیلیا زاروک بدایی کربو جبوه که ام دخوازن لجنوار تکیلی اما اکولوژی لسر اساس کی خورد به ام بهتر پیش بخن بکارن دایکن می کفنار دروجا دایکو باوند دکارو خباتن کو کری و حتی روجا ایرو ام دخوازن برنگ کی خوازایی به نه برنگ کی کو از ببینم دولت در و چتکن از ویرنگی بکم ام دخوازن خوازایی به.
So what we can see also that the capitalist system, for example, also through special warfare, is like wants to weaken, for example, also an ecological approach. And what we say, for example, that this ecological approach is actually between the nature, that between the human and the nature, there's actually a love. and also between the women and the nature, there's a love. And this is the base of it. And for example, there's also a sentence from Abdullah Öcalan, who was saying that, for example, the knowledge and the protection of that, for example, ecology, it's the continuing of the free society. And ecology, for example, it's not only like it's in itself, it's a science, and ecology itself, it's not connected to the state and the schools and the university. But it's like ecology itself expresses the movement of the earth, the movement of the universe. It's movement. And for example, here also in Jinwar, when we see, for example, also look at the nature, like we can see that the nature has been always like in some places it's called the Mother Earth, and this has been like this culture between the women and the nature, or as we see as a Mother Earth, like this kind of relation we also try to create in Jinwar.
شخوان دبینن حتان ها کو بریارن در حق جندا تنکرن فرانی سدم کو اوج دزانن يعني كاسين كوفيد تشتي دكن دولات في تشتي دكن كابيتاليزم بكا چند از لام بكيبه دزانن کو رح د جندا هي جريداي ايكولوجي زيادتر جريداي خزايه جبر فيا كي بريار دروجا ايرو در حق جندا تنكرن هرتم وش خزاي دور دخن نهال جنوار مشفى بنابي الشفاء جنهاية مشفى جبو زاروك وجبو جنانة يعني ذي مشفى دا درماني كيمياء هيا أما براني أم دخازن ملي شفاء خزاي درماني خزاي كوم بكن ميناك أم دتشن جهايان كوم دكن بحفدرا درمان شيتكن أو درمان دبا درماني كي خزاي أم دخازن في چانده بهتر پیش بخن بهتر تخن روجافي اما ام دبینم کو نخوشیم به انسان را درد کهون مروف دبینه کی او یا جی عینک جواکه جبر کی جنین پرانین تن و مشفیچان پرانی نخوشیم بدن آن این پسیکولوژی بوان رهنه گر تکلیا جواکی آن بگیشتی ام بیجن تکلیا ظلام تکلیا جواکی بجنان را تکلیا کی باش با از دبیجم کی گور نیرنامن او قاسی نخوشین نفسي جي درنات كاتن بسيكولوجي جي درنات كاتن يعني از غور نيرينا من از دبيجم كي اكولوجي جيانا مروف عندها بير جرينجا مروف دبينا دماكو تيكليا نافبرا خازاي وإنسانا دا پوش دبا جواكتي آستي كي پوچبونه يعني همان دمي دا جي خوازا حسكرنا كيت خوازا
So we can see that, for example, like what you said, the capitalist system also take like this product or this also the base from the women, and also wants to take the spirit also from the women, and wants to cut also cut our relations to our surrounding. And for example, here in the village we have also a healing and health center with the name Shifajin, and there we also, like, on the one hand we make natural medicine by its own, like we go around and get the herbs and so on, and then we make also medicine, and on the other hand we also want to put a meaning on the relation like we have to each other, also like to say like on the way we are, for example, healing, because like we say that the health of the human, it's a mirror, for example, also of the society, like how a society is working. And for example, here we can see like also like in between the relation here, for example, between inside society or men and women, like for example, a lot of power, like a lot of violence also put on the women. So in this way, women are also like, it also makes an influence, for example, on their psychology and also on their health. Yes.
Je crois دەستپێکی دەما کو ژنوار هات ئاواگرن جی ئەم دەزانن کی عردێکی تەنێ ji bo çandiniyê bû berê mal têda nebîn piştî wê ket nîqaşê da û piranî ji cîranên jinwar hat pirsî yanî daxwazên we çi ne yanî em dixwazin gundekî ava bikin wan çi dibêjin yanî ev têkiliyana bi xwe jî mirov dikare bêje ekolojî digire nava xwe.
So Nasrin was saying that, like, for example, at the beginning here there was nothing, and afterwards everything has been built up. But for example, also the ones who were like the women who started like this village, they were, for example, also going around the villages and asking the neighbors for their opinion for this village, and like this itself can be also like seen as an ecological approach, like to like how to build up the relation to our environment.
Ez pirsgirêkî amade kirin ama gotbelkî ew bepirse ez bêjim
Tu pirsgirêk?
bigiştî ez van tiştan bêjim.
She said, now I said this, I can also continue with, for example, other things, or maybe we just leave it now, but I can add something, or up to you.
Thanks, Nasreen. Maybe for now we pass over to Mary, just so we have a bit of context of each project, and then we can learn from each other and share between the different projects. So Mary, if you would like to share something about Incredible Edible. And yeah, thank you so much.
I'll talk really fast. And anyway, I'm absolutely humbled by sharing a platform with such amazing sisters, such amazing work. So if you start my slides, who's ever got them, I'll go for it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story about true radical activism. So a long time ago, maybe 12 years ago, we started up Incredible Edible Todmorden, and it was the year of the economic crash brought on by the bankers or the wankers, whichever you prefer to say about them. And we were very aware of the state of the planet and the state of the economy. So we thought we'd use the skills of the community to create a greener, kinder, more connected town, to connect us with the soil, with each other, with the birds, the bees and the planet, and maybe have some hope for the future. And our first steps were to connect people with the soil and to each other. And to do that, we thought we'd grow food in public places and we'd share it with anybody. We'd model kindness. So growing food really is our propaganda gardens, our calling card. So change the slide. It's horrible when you can't do it. Oh, here he is. And what we're really interested in is kindness, and we're using food as the glue for our community. We're using food to bring people together. We're using food because it crosses culture, class, age, creed. It doesn't matter who you are, and our membership is, if you eat, you're in. So we are radical. We don't take public money. We don't apply for grants. Kindness is our currency. And our resource is our people, our joy and our hope for the future. So we garden twice a month, the whole town. And when I say garden, that includes picking up dog poo, beer cans, doing all the things that would make your town, your home beautiful. And afterwards we eat together. So sometimes 50 people will eat together. And that's where the absolute worth of our work is shown. We've got all sorts of gardens. If you come to Todmorden, you'll see this is the police station. We've got gardens at the police station, the health centre, kind of car parks and bus stops. So anywhere where there's a little bit of land, we'll make it beautiful and we'll grow food to share. We've got all sorts of people, you know, people whinge and moan, oh, how can I get volunteers? Let me tell you, we've never been short of volunteers. If anything, it's very difficult to work with 30, 40, 50 people at a time, you know, by the road, little children, people who are able, people who are less able, older people. So we've got a fabulous, fabulous variety of people who want to be the change. And the lovely thing about us is we're completely self-sufficient. We don't rely on grants, we don't rely on other people's agendas. We can make our own agenda because we're self-sufficient on vegetable tourism. So people from all over the world come to look at vegetables. We're embarrassed about it because we're not very good growers. And they're asked, would you like to pay for a tour? But if you don't want to pay or you haven't got money, you can have the tour anyway. So 99% of people pay up. So we're absolutely blessed to be making income from vegetable tourism. And what's happened here in Todmorden, because we're not interested in an empire, we're not interested in monetizing what we do, we're not interested in being big, we're interested in small and beautiful and the power of small actions. The projects have spread all over the world, and I don't wish to be disrespectful to any other project, but we're not even that interested in that either. But I thought you'd like the picture of all of these people growing vegetables, because to maintain energy and love for what we do, we focus on the small. We're really good. I'll say this. I don't say we're really good at growing vegetables, but what we're really good is reaching out to people and working with other people. So we're interested in silence. We're interested in those people who haven't got a place at the table, and we put masses of energy into finding ways to work together and bring people together. This is just to say there is no office, there are no staff, nobody's getting paid. We don't have an Incredible Edible Todmorden computer. We've got old manky iPads, and we run on good coffee and cake. It's nothing fancy, it's nothing clever. It's just kindness to the planet. And these are the things we've learned, that people matter, people more than anything. And that using food as the glue to bring people together, to make magic happen, it does happen. That growing is truly magic stuff. I mean, the last speakers, I'm full of white privilege and I feel bad about this, but for us, growing, we're not going to starve, but it's magic, and it's that magic that makes people want to do more, wants people to be kinder, wants people to share their food. And growing with people is so much better than growing alone. And watching people grow in other ways, as people, it's a blessing. It's the greatest reward. We also think it's not a dress rehearsal. Bloody crack on. Honestly, the planet's in trouble. I've got 13 grandchildren. I am afraid for them. I'm truly afraid. Crack on. And we also believe in asking forgiveness and not always permission. We haven't got time to funny about asking for permission, obeying rules, but we are willing to say sorry at any time. There you go, that's it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mary, for that presentation. I wonder, Nesreen, Esther, if you could turn your cameras back on. Yeah, thank you all for those presentations. That I feel very, very generous and very inspired. You're all working in very, very different contexts, but obviously we can start to see the links here between the different projects. And I was just wondering if you, from listening to each other's presentations, if there was anything that came up that you wanted to ask each other, or if not, I could begin with something that I was curious about, especially from Jinwar, or thinking about Jinwar, like how what sort of models do each of you use, like democratic models within your organizations? Because I know Jinwar has a very specific way of including the community or including everyone together in the decision making. And I was wondering how that worked in your project, Esther, and in Mary's in Incredible Edible.
In our project, like I've said, it is a farmer-led organization. So we have structures in the community where every community has 2 people who are selected, a man and a woman, who attend farmer research team meetings monthly. So in an area, if there are 16 villages, it means you have 32 people who attend those meetings. After they attend those meetings, they are FRT members. While they're attending meetings, it means also SFHC staff, we train the FRT members. After training the FRT members train their own communities in the villages. So that's how we work. And we go through the chiefs and the area development committee and also district committee. Because we are an agriculture project, we always make sure we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, but we have the same systems like the Ministry of Agriculture does. And there's nothing that we introduce without going through the government and giving us permission to get the permit to do the research and also present the research. And the papers are published in the same way that if it is survey, you take survey, you analyze the data, and people who write papers, they do the rest. But still, the community has to get the feedback of whatever has happened with any research in the community.
Cool, thanks. So less asking forgiveness as a Mary's project, more planning, pre-planning. Thank you. And I wonder if Nesrine, you could just expand a bit on the model, the sort of democratic model, and I think also it's clear for each project that the fact that they're led by women makes a big difference, and why you think that is sort of important for the project. I know you mentioned this quite a lot, Nesrine, but maybe Mary could also reflect on this.
يعني شخوا مجلسها جنوار جنين كل جنوار جيان دكم بيكتي شخوا نتاني جنين كردن جنين إيزيدي هنا جنين عرب هنا جنين ألمان هنا جنين إيطالي هنا يعني جبيك هاتا ينحمو هنا ما دجنوار ده حمو بيك هاتي جيان دكن شخوا مجلس ما قلت جنين كل جنوار جيان دكيان بيكتي مثلا دما هيدا دجارة جيفيني جارة كده جارة تكميل جيفيني خد شيء دكان دوي تكميله ده حر دايك حرجن كارو خباتي خد دي ناسين دوي ما هيدا تشكريه ما هابيوي تشبكي تشكارو خبات مشاندية وما هابيوي تشكارو خباتي بمشيني لفيداري حمود دايك بهافدرا برياركي ددن مثلا دایکی کی و مه کاری فرنه کریه مهاته پیوسته کاری اکادمیه بکی مهاته پیوسته نزانم کاری دکانه بکی ورده به هفدره بریاره دستینن دعینی دمه دا جوینی زاروک آجی چه دبی ام لجنوار یک ج اساسیات جنوار بنگهینین جنوار کو زاروک وک زاروک دایکان حمویانن یعنی از نه تنی زاروک دایکه که ما از زاروک حمو دایکانم اب اساس جهه بريارين دجنوار داتين داين غريداي مجلس بريارة جنواري ده بقشتي ازوان بيجمج بو مجلس اگر تشي كيما تقالي زي
So she said that our we ourselves in Jinwar we organize through our council, and like in this council they are not it's very wide council, because there are women, Kurdish women, there are Arabic women, there are women as Yazidi women, there are also women, like what you said, women from other countries also in the world, and like all the women who are living together here, they come together in this council, and like in this council we meet 2 times a month, and in this meeting, like every mother or every woman is talking about how she saw the last time, is like making like saying like which things has been worked well, which things needs to be improved about our work and our communal life. And on this base also, like we are going to make our common decisions, like for example when like also common decisions about like who is working where, like also needed to be changed. For example, one who's like working in the bakery needs to be like going to another place, for example, working. So, and also we are like deciding, like making like the common decisions together. There's also a meeting of the children. For example, the children by itself, they also organize together. And for example, it's also the basic of like our life here, that, for example, like Nesrine said, that I'm not only the children of my mother, I'm actually the children of all the mothers. So it's like communal thinking. And yes, and on this base, we make our decisions also.
Shall I say how we make decisions? We're a registered community benefit society, so a part of the cooperatives movement. So we have a board, and everybody has their role. There's a recovery person, because we're really interested in working with people who are in recovery from drugs, alcohol, the misery of life, or many of the miseries of life. So we meet together formally to make those management decisions about once a month. But because we garden twice a month, we're a team. And let me tell you, we've got a rule. We keep the meetings short. We avoid all BS. We avoid loads of papers, and it's a joy. I've spent my life going to boring meetings, and our meetings are a joy. And anybody can come, anybody can suggest anything. And as we get older as an organisation, we see that collaboration with others is really the joy of existing. Hope that covers it.
Mm. And Mary, how have other people in the community responded to the project? Because I guess it started very small and then now it's much more present in Todmorden.
Well, often people ask us, can we do X, Y, Z? And we say, no, you can do it. We'll support you. We'll give you money. We can do other things. So we're kind of, I hate to say this, we're kind of the establishment, but not. So people love us. It's hard to spend money in this community. When we need to buy things, people go, oh no, I'll give it to you. Well, no, we'll pay for it. But the kindness thing has really developed. There's a kindness cafe, there's a kindness home being built for adults with learning difficulty. You know, it's just because we're all hardwired to be good and kind. So it's beautiful.
And Esther, how about in Bwabwa and in places where you've worked? How have people responded to your work? I know we see in the film, The Ants and the Grasshopper, that this sort of process of persuasion that takes time.
Yeah, so in Bwabwa, the response is very good. Why I'm saying that, it's because for the Bwabwa had one of the women who had malnourished children. And that woman was Anita. Now, Anita was going to the under 5 clinic, and everyone was seeing how Anita was suffering, and that there was a lot of gender inequality in Bwabwa. Now, when the SFHC started working with the Anita and team at the SFHC and is starting to starting the agroecological project. The issue of having volunteers started. So the FRT members were volunteers, and some of the volunteers also in the second phase. The first year I said 30 farmers, the second year Baba was included. So Anita and the team were some of the farmers. Now, after they started growing the crops, intercropping, legumes and cereals, and the crop rotation, making manure and the like, people started seeing the benefits. The first year they could not really see the benefit, because when they are burying the residue in their crops, it was now second year which was going to yield results. After seeing those results, people in Baba accepted that very well. And they saw when we were doing focus group discussions concerning gender inequalities and also nutrition discussion groups, they saw that there was a lot of benefit. Some of the benefit came because at first people were saying, oh, when the baby is born, they give a bit of water, breast milk and the like. But now the issues of exclusive breastfeeding started coming in because of the problem of malnutrition and nutritional anemia. Then people started seeing the benefits. Those benefits, including seeing how Anita started having food. Now there was food security in her home, started having good nutrition, knew about the 6 food groups, and then seeing that people don't only use fertilizer to grow their crops, but they should go agroecology. That also motivated everybody to come in. Now, like I said, SFHC is a farmer-led organization, and everything is done by farmers. The board is composed of farmers, and the SFH team, we attend all those board meetings, but the decisions, it's the farmers who form the General Assembly, and they are the ones who make decision. And you see people in Baba are the people who participate quite a lot. They volunteer most of the things, and they are growing, they are food secure, they have seen their soil is fertile. Now, because of all that has encouraged them, now the issues of gender inequality are completely solved. I can also talk about climate change, which was completely bad because of sometimes we have drought, sometimes heavy rains, sometimes it rains a bit, and now people started saying, oh, at first we thought the food is only maize, our main staple food, but now people see that, oh, we can eat anything. We can grow sweet potato, we can grow cassava, we can have vegetables, we can have beans, pigeon pea, cowpea, bambara nut, and all that. And people have seen that, no, if you go agroecology and you are working as a team, you really benefit. People in Bwabwa now, they even have formed an association where, because they have supplies from their crops, they now sell their crops together. They find market. Let's say they have a contract with Ikirisat, which is a big agriculture organization. Give them seed, they grow seeds, and then they sell as a team, because they have gone agroecology and they have accepted the project. We have gone up to over 15,000 farmers, because farmers have seen the benefits. Before we started the democracy, we were in one-party system. People knew that fertilizer is the main thing that you apply in your maize so that you yield. And at the same time, people thought if they buy only hybrid maize, they are going to benefit. But now we have gone to grow even indigenous crops indigenous food, the crops which were lost, they have now come in and people are growing them using compost and people are harvesting quite a lot. So the example village is the same Wab and the example person is the same Anita, who has come from 0 to almost 100% or 99.99% with the gender equity, food security, soil fertility, and the good nutrition.
Thank you, Esther. It's really, really inspiring to hear. I see Mary wrote in the chat as well, seeing is believing. When other people see, then this leads to growth as well. So we probably have about 5-10 minutes left. So if anyone does want to ask anything, then please, now is your moment. And also between us, if you have any questions for each other, then please let me know. The one thing I wanted to ask to all of you, but maybe start with Nesreen, is like, because the projects are very local, and as Mary said, it's about being small, it's being within the community where you are, but do you see your projects as part of a wider struggle? You can take this how you want, like in relation to climate change or democracy or gender rights. Do you see it as part of a wider struggle? So I think we're just translating for Nesreen, so just one moment.
طبعا يعني جنوار جي پرچه جوه شورشه جنوار جي شورشه کی فکری تدت مشاندن چوا ام بیجن گلک جنین کو هاتن ور گلک جنین کو توندی دیتن دهاتن جنوار خو پرورده دکرن خو دگوتن ام دخازن آسه کدابن کو ام آزاد بن کو ام بکرن بشورشه خرابن و ام شورشه براستی بمشین و کسک نیم به کودستی ما گریده یعنی ام آزاد بن گلک جنین زانیار جی هاتن جنواره وان جی دگوت هاتم يعني ام دبيجن هرتمي شورش روجافا شورش جنيه طبي تيكليه نافبر جنيه وجنوار ام دزانين تيكليه كي تشاوا يعني هيج فرق نينا شورش ذكرن بيجن لبوندي جنوار جي تمشاندن هم جي هفجينو زاروكن شهيدان جي لجنوار جي خوا دگرن اف كاسين كو باوی وان هفجینی وان د شورش روج آوا د شهید کرد آن کسی کو دایکی وان خوشکی وان شورش روج آوا د شهید کرد لوی داره وان صدمانا تحلیل دکن و لیکولین دکن و دینن زمانج.
She said, yes, of course, like Jinwar is a part of this revolution here. And Jinwar itself, it's also like a product of this revolution, also the thoughts here, like a product of this this revolution, like the thoughts we are living on. And like the women who are coming here, also like seeing, like also educate ourselves, seeing education, for example, like also on this space. And then also like on the space creating their own strengths, and there's, for example, no one who's like taking our hands in the sense of like who's putting us into a cage or something. So we have the opportunity to get free here. And for example, like there are different women who also from this revolution, like coming also here, and Jinwar also itself is as part of the revolution known. And for example, there are also women here whose husband or whose family members has been fallen martyr in this revolution. Also, these women are living here, and like when they are coming here, for example, they are also like analyzing their situation. They're also analyzing like their own history. So in this way, it's also connected to a wider struggle. I don't want to add something.
نها الشعر بيجن شورشة روجافا وفراني الشعر قرشاري قليشي با قرشاري هفدو كشتني با أو الشعر برخو بدا صالة كي برخو دا 2 صالة برخو دا أما الشعر ما وك شورشة روجافا شورشة جني شعري كي فكرية الشعر هفدو كشتن زيداتر شورشة كي فكرية وهرتم بيوستا ام دبيجن كي حتى مروف صاغبة حتى مروف بهنا بقرا بيوستا هرتم بمجي خورد ناف شركي دا بكي بكار بهرتم جتشتي نورا فاكريبا.
And I want to add something like the revolution here, like the space of the revolution also, or like for example the revolution, also the war was taking place here. Like you can say like maybe there's a war for 1 year, maybe there's a war for 2 years, 3 years, whatever, like it's a armed war. But we are not only like fighting this war, what we are also fighting is like the war of the mindset, like a struggle of the mindset, for example. And this is actually our base here, and like to change our mindset and to get opened to other also thoughts and approaches.
Jamie, I'd like to say something that is a bit off of your question, but we're also very interested in trying to readdress what's happened in this country, not necessarily yours, the sleepwalking into dependency on the state, on public funding, the commodification, professionalization of good people, citizens wanting to do good action. So I've seen over the last 13 years, people spend millions on sexy, interesting Vogue projects and websites and social media and t-shirts and mugs and all of this stuff, when we need to think small, to think local, and to empower citizens. Because there's nothing special about us people here today. Everybody can be aware of the planet, aware of sustainability, and we have to give that opportunity for people to do tiny actions themselves. So I feel very strongly that this country sees everything in terms of how big are we, how clever are we, how many million followers have we got. Just be small and it'll all be good.
Thanks, Mary. So we probably have just a few minutes left. I don't know if Esther and Nasreen, if you would like to just add anything before we end.
Yeah, for us here as SFHC, we are really encouraging, we are forming a lot of consortiums, a lot of networks that people should really go agroecology. People should really have to be relying on themselves, not rely on food which they can buy or grow food using inorganic, but they should go organic, and everything that they should grow, they should know that even if they do winter cropping or they are doing normal rain cropping, it should be very fruitful because they are using compost. And we are doing as much as possible to forward to do a lot of policy briefs so that the government can adopt to the technologies which we are trying with the farmers, this research which we do. If we see the results, then we do policy briefs, then the government should push forward to the government officials so that we can adopt. And we really believe in collaboration, not working as the individuals, but we should collaborate with so many organizations and the community so that we can all share for sustainability, that we can improve livelihood of every Malawian, and also food security, nutrition, and everything that people should be. And we are trying to go to, we are also doing a lot of added value chain with the crops which we are growing. At first, Malawi was saying cash crop is tobacco. But now cash crop is anything. We are growing soybeans, groundnuts, and all that, pigeon peas, soya, bambara nuts, and people are able to sell that. We also have vegetables in abundance, bananas, different types of fruits, which our farmers are doing. And we are also using a lot of agroforestry trees to treat the pests, botanicals, again to grow them, to improve soil in our gardens, in the farmers' gardens. But the most important thing is it's participatory project and the farmer-led, and the farmers work very hard.
Thanks, Esther. There's a few comments in the chat, yeah, that growing your own also avoids plastic.
Can we ask something?
Of course, please.
قالوا البروجي هذا هي بروجي وان كوتشي كان لدار دخن باندورة كي تشاوا سرجنا نزارو كانت كي.
So the question was like in the project also, like from the friends who were speaking here and the comrades, like how it influenced also, for example, the situation, or like how the situation of women and children, for example, also like in what kind of way it influences them.
Mm-hmm.
If it was clear.
Yeah, I think it's clear. Do you want to start, Mary? I don't know if you have reflections on this.
So, do it again, the question for me.
So how your projects have influenced the life of women and children in your communities?
Oh,
in what way?
I think in learning new skills, in gaining confidence, all of the things, gaining confidence, learning new skills. When you know about growing vegetables, when you know about the soil and how to cook, you feel more resilient. And we've also shown people that kindness in the pandemic. We have survived beautifully in this town, and we've really shown the power of networks and valuing each other.
Thanks. Esther, do you have anything specific?
Yes, I can say for us women, I was saying at first there was a lot of gender inequality. Men were leaving women to do a lot of work. Household chores were only done by women, and women were the ones who were looking after the cereals in the legumes in the gardens. Men thought they can only look at tobacco, only crops which are cash crops, and that was very difficult. When they go together to the garden, when they finish, when they have the cash, men were taking the money and using it the way they want without the woman participating or the children. And at the same time, men were drinking a lot. Men were sitting there while the woman is going to the garden to draw water, to do so many things. But now, with the coming in of SFHC, there's a lot of gender equity. And men and women, they decide together, including their children. They go to the garden together. They decide on which land should we plant, what type of crops together, which was not happening. What can we do with this money? How should we pay school fees? And at first it was boys going to school, girls not going to school. But now boys and girls go to school together. They all wake up in the morning together. Men, husband and wife, they respect each other because we have gone through gender-based violence and looked at it together through focus group discussions, in-depth interviews, and a lot of gender training, which we have done through dramas, songs, and different things. The young children under 5, they have benefited because now there is no malnutrition. SFHC has really helped in this area to not talk about malnutrition in children. I have for so many years now, since 2000 or 2003, not seen any child with kwashiorkor or marasmus, because people now grow their own food. They don't rely on forage from World Food Program, but they are growing their own soya beans and making their own produce. And the youth are participating. So the youth are participating and they are doing anything that they can do. Men and women working together. The women are making decisions. They can handle cash. Together they can buy things which they want. Children under 5 improve. Youth participating in anything. So things are like equal now. A lot of sustainability means which we have done.
Thanks, Esther, and thanks, Mary. I hope that answers your question, Leslie. So I think we should wrap it up now because we have gone a bit over our time, and maybe our audience have other things that they need to go to. So I'm just going to share some things in the chat, which are the rest of the DocFest Exchange program, including a talk, 2 more talks that are happening today, one at 2 p.m. And then I've also just shared a survey if you had some time to fill in the survey just to help us with future programming. Yeah, so just to round up, thank you so much for sharing these projects. It's amazing to hear from each of you, and it's also amazing to see the links between what you do and what we can kind of learn from each other somehow in these projects. Yeah, and thank you to our audience.
And thank you for inviting us, SFHC, to participate in this discussion. I've learned a lot from the colleagues.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cool. I will end it now then. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.